Hey all. A few days ago we went through just some general rock and roll books on different bands, ones that I would recommend if you're into classic rock. And I wanted to do something similar, but just for Led Zeppelin. Because a lot of people in the comments and stuff were recommending different books. And I will say thank you for the recommendations. Almost all of those I already have and have read. But there were a few in there that I hadn't, so I appreciate that. So I don't think I'm approaching this as reviews necessarily, as so much as just ones that I like and are decent books, because I'm looking through the stacks of them now, and some of them I don't remember. I read them all, but if I don't remember it, that's kind of my review of the book. If it was great, I remember it. So let's just go through these. If this gets to be like 20 minutes into it and we're still only halfway done, because I got a lot of them, maybe I'll stop and we'll do this as two separate videos. So let's just go through a few. This one is called No Quarter, The Three Lives of Jimmy Page by Martin Power. And this one I actually like. I know Jimmy's got his book coming out this fall. I didn't order that limited edition one. It was like $1,000 or something, a couple $1,000, which is insane. Unless Jimmy's going to come to my house and read the book to me, I'm not willing to spend that much. But there is one like for $60. It comes out in October, and I'm on the pre-order for that. But short of that book, and I have no idea what that book's going to be like, although I hear it has a lot of cool pictures of his equipment and stuff. But I actually like this. If you're a Jimmy Page fan looking for a Jimmy Page book and you only want to get one, this is not bad. Especially because since it's sort of broken up into pre-Led Zeppelin, then post-Led Zeppelin, this book gives like equal weight to the Firm. Well, not equal weight, but it takes that period and his Outrider period, takes those as seriously as it takes the fourth Zeppelin album, which I liked because, you know, there's a lot of the Firm story in here that you don't really hear very often. I was a fan of the Firm, saw them live in '86. But anyway, good book. That's one. I like that one. This one, A Biography of Led Zeppelin, When Giants Walked the Earth by Mick Wall. I wouldn't really recommend this, to be honest. Mick Wall is a Zeppelin insider, and he kind of writes that way. I mean, not an insider so much, but he's friendly with Jimmy, and you're not going to get a critical look at Zeppelin, I don't think, from Mick Wall. I wouldn't recommend that one, honestly. This one's kind of cool. Led Zeppelin, The Press Reports. And it just sort of collects a lot of news coverage. Two criticisms of this. One, this is the second copy I've gone through because the binding sucks. The pages come out, and you can even see in the middle of this one. They're starting to come out there. But, and the other thing is, I would really love to see, of course the book would be 18,000 pages, but I'd love to see full press cover. Some of these are abbreviated. I'd love to see the whole thing. It did come with, and I have it somewhere, came with a disc of a recording of the 1977, I think it was Guitar Player magazine interview with Jimmy. So that one actually, that's not bad. Of course now that interview, you don't need a disc, you can get it on YouTube and just listen to it, but this isn't bad. Probably more for hardcore fans. A Whole Lot of Lead, Our Flight with Led Zeppelin by Ralph Hewlett and Jerry Prochnicki. Don't remember much about it, which is to say I don't really recommend it. Hairway to Steven, no, that's Stairway to Heaven by Richard Cole, of course, the band's road manager. This one is obviously very much an insider account, and it's kind of a riposte to the Hammer of the Gods book, which I do not have a copy of. This one is Richard Cole's take on it. He was like the main source of the text for Hammer of the Gods. This one is, I think, a better book. I don't really have a high opinion of Hammer of the Gods, that's why I don't have a copy. Of course I've read it, but it's a lot of the myth of Zeppelin, and just they come across as way too heavy in that Hammer of the Gods thing. This is at least put some context into it where you get the sense that, yeah, they were sort of marauding from town to town, but it was fun. You know, nobody got hurt until the very end there, till Oakland and then Bonham himself. But this is not bad. Again, probably not. It wouldn't be in my top 10 of Zeppelin books, but not bad. The Illustrated Collector's Guide to Led Zeppelin. This is about bootlegs and pictures of bootlegs, reviews, and that kind of, again, that's for hardcore people. Ooh. Dave Lewis, Then As It Was, Led Zeppelin at Nebworth, 1979, 30 years gone. Of course, now it's more than 40, but this one, yeah. Inscribed by Dave Lewis. Still outstanding in their field. Enjoy. Dave Lewis is awesome. Anything by Dave Lewis is great. And this one is a whole book just about the Nebworth shows, how they came about. Tons of, it's a play-by-play of the shows. Tons of eyewitness accounts. It gets into the sort of the financial part of how it kind of got ugly after the fact. The different bootlegs and different releases and stuff. Awesome book. Of course, I'm a big fan of Zeppelin in '79. I thought the Copenhagen shows, those 2 shows in July, were some of the best post-75 shows they did. Led Zeppelin Rex collections. This is one of those ones, they do these Rex collections. They're just sort of syndicated news photos. So a lot of them are pictures you've seen many times before, but and reproduced in okay quality, but you know, it's the typical sort of pinup concert photos that you get a lot. It's okay. If you're a completist like me, you kind of have to have it, but you're not going to learn anything from it. This is this is what's wrong with being a completist. I have 3 copies of this book, and it's not even a great book. It's called Power and Glory, Robert Plant and Jimmy Page. It's Chris Welch. He's another of the British rock journalists from the glory days of rock journalism. But another one where it's got some fairly cool pictures in it, but you're not going to learn anything from this book, and you're certainly not going to learn anything from having 3 of them. Led Zeppelin in the Light, Howard Milet and Richard Button. Howard Milet is another one who has written a few Zeppelin books. Again, it gives a kind of a basic history, but again, not. The pictures are ones you've seen 10,000 times, and not a particularly deep dive into Led Zeppelin. Led Zeppelin Shadows Taller Than Our Souls, the albums, concert memorabilia, and biography of the Gods of Rock. Charles Cross. This is one of those. This is another one of those. A lot of bands do these, and they have kind of pull out stuff, and it's like fake reprints of memorabilia. There's an interview disc in there, like fake news reprints of news clippings and stuff. It's okay. Again, another one where it's kind of gimmicky on having like a tour program that has a reprinted tour program. You know, some cool pictures in it. Probably more for completists than anything else. I mean, they really did go all out on the reprints of these things. But I don't think it's essential. But again, if you're a collector like I am, you have to have it. Led Zeppelin Day by Day by Mark Roberty, I don't know how to pronounce that. But this one actually I kind of liked. And it literally is a day-by-day account, goes into the sessions, doesn't really concentrate on the live dates, but this isn't bad. I kind of like it. It might be a top 10 for me, might be. Not bad. This is just from the Into the Outdoor Deluxe box. Or you know, the deluxe reissue that they did a few years ago. The coolest thing in it are actual pictures from the Polar Studios sessions for Into the Outdoor. Those are the kettle drums that you hear in the intro of In the Evening. That's Bonham's silver kit in the back, the Ludwig kit. I mean, that, for me, it's worth having just for that. Now, of course, yeah, you can just find that picture on the internet. But I don't know, the Into the Outdoor was the first album I ever bought new at the store, and it was like the day it came out, the day after it came out. So it does a pretty good idea. It gives you a pretty good idea of what was going on toward the final days of the band. You know, old magazine covers and stuff. It's the one that came with the deluxe box of the reissue of that one. You could probably buy that separately on eBay. This is, oh yeah, this is cool. This is the Into the Outdoor music book that you know, that I think it's the only one that they did a music book for officially from the time when it came out. They did that one. There's one chord books, like, you know, one of those fake books, and this is a little bit like a fake book. Of the first 5 albums, it goes all the way up through Into the Outdoor. Sorry, no, it goes up through House of the Holy, and a lot of that is campfire renditions of things, not particularly great transcriptions of it. This is kind of the same. I just have it because I like the Into the Outdoor album, but it's collectible, but probably not all that valuable for information. Led Zeppelin, a photographic collection by Neil Preston, and of course Neil Preston took tons of very famous, well-known, it's hard to do this, man, well-known Zeppelin photos. That is my favorite picture of Jimmy Page, I think, from Nebworth, with the cigarette hanging out his mouth. I mean, visually, Nebworth was awesome. Musically, meh. Visually, outstanding. But there's some pretty cool pictures. A lot of them are the same ones you see a lot. You see all the time. But they're reproduced in pretty good quality. In terms of Zeppelin photo books, that's a good one. That's a pretty good one. Okay. Led Zeppelin, the story behind, the story of a band and their music, 1968 to 1980. Believe it or not, you can get this one cheap. Probably get this one used on Amazon. I like this book. That's a pretty informative and well-written book. Not a lot of factual inaccuracy. And of course, you know, when I read through them, I just go through and I pick out the little things that are wrong. Not a lot wrong in that book. That's a pretty good book. Good pictures in it, too. Speaking of good pictures, The Photographers, Led Zeppelin, compiled by Ross Halfon. So the idea was they took some of the more well-known photographers who shot Zeppelin tours and shot Zeppelin shows, compiled it into this thing. This thing's probably a few $100 now. Came out about 25 years ago in the mid-90s. Good book. If you can find a cheap copy. Good book. Awesome pictures. Here's another one called Led Zeppelin Live Dreams Deluxe Edition by someone named Ratner. I'd have to pull it out to get the name. This one is the same idea as the other one, but I think it's a young guy. He was a young guy at the time, around 75-ish, and he took his own photos at the shows, and I think eventually was allowed in to take pictures, something like that. Not the greatest pictures, but again, if you're a completist, this is another one that you could probably find used fairly reasonably. But I would chase down, if you're going to chase down one, I'd chase down The Photographers, Led Zeppelin. This one is second on that list. Led Zeppelin Revealed, another one of those sort of fan things. This is not particularly good. Not particularly good, but again, if you're a completist, you probably want it. Some smaller ones. Howard Milet, Led Zeppelin. This one came out in the early 80s? When was this published? 1976, then reprinted in 78 and reprinted in 81, obviously, because there's a 79 picture on it. So, a fan read, something to read in about an hour. Not very good. Wouldn't recommend it. Led Zeppelin, the definitive biography by Richie York. Another one that's Richie York is fairly tight, or was for a while, with Plant, but nothing spectacular in that book. Led Zeppelin, the concert file, the little version. There's a big one that I got somewhere in here. This is awesome. This is another Dave Lewis thing. Dave Lewis and Simon Pallet. But it is just a miniature version of the large one. It goes through all the shows. Every show has the set list for almost all of them. Bootleg reviews in it. Awesome. And you can find that one cheap online. The Led Zeppelin, the concert file. I would recommend that. Led Zeppelin, Good Times. What does this say? Got some water on. Led Zeppelin, Good Times, Bad Times. It's got a little Obi on it too. I don't know. Do I remember anything about this book? I'm just flipping through it and I don't see many pictures that I haven't seen a million times before. So, meh. It's okay. This one I like. John Bonham, A Thunder of Drums by Chris Welch and Jeff Nichols. It is just about Bonham, but it does tell a lot about his drumming style and his technique and what he brought to the band. If you're a Bonham fan or you just want to know a little bit more about him, he wasn't like, I guess they modeled that Muppet animal after him and Keith Moon. That's a one-dimensional version of John Bonham. He was a musician too, you know. And this talks a lot about his actual drumming style. And I don't know, I thought that was pretty good. It's a good book. I liked it. I just liked it that they took Bonham as seriously as he should be taken. Another Dave Lewis, Led Zeppelin, Feather in the Wind, Over Europe, 1980. Is this another one that's inscribed? No, I didn't get this one inscribed. Did I? No, I did. Oh. Well. Got a little note from Dave in there. So it is, I do have something from him. But this is another great one. There isn't much hype about Zeppelin's 1980 tour of Europe. And this is probably the most detailed account that you'll get of it. And of course, again, it's Dave Lewis. Everything he does is great. So it goes through show by show, talks about what was going on with the band, a lot of fan accounts of people who were at the shows, a lot of fan photos even. But I'm a big fan of the latter days of Zeppelin, because that's when I was, 10, 11, 12, 13 years old, just getting into that kind of rock music. And so I'm partial to the latter days of the band, so I like that one. Plus, it's Dave Lewis. You can't go wrong. Factually, he's correct all the time. Jimmy Page, The Definitive Biography by Chris Solowitz. I think he's another of the British rock journalists from the glory days. I would rather read the 3 Lives of Jimmy Page than this one. Sorry, Chris. Jimmy Page, Magus Musician Man, an unauthorized biography by George Case. Again, another one that's not bad, but I go back to the 3 Lives over this. This, Jimmy Page, Past Presents. I think I got this for like $1 and it's not worth $1. Scratch this off your list. It's crap. No offense, Julianne White. Peter Grant, The Man Who Led Zeppelin. And it's the only bio I know of Peter Grant. And if you're hardcore, that's fascinating. To everybody else, who cares? I thought this was pretty good though. Kind of a neat book. A neat idea for a book, because Zeppelin would have been a great band without Peter Grant. But he knew how to kind of further the mystique of the band by not doing TV shows and not going on Top of the Pops, not doing all the other typical stuff that bands did. He sort of kept it as almost like an underground kind of thing. We're going to do 2 more and then we're going to cut this off and then do a part 2 because I don't want to burden people with a 40-minute video. There's more books than I thought. Led Zeppelin FAQ. All that's left to know about the greatest hard rock band of all time, George Case. Yeah, if you don't want to buy all these other books and you just want one and you want to know a little bit about the band, that's probably not a bad investment of a few dollars. But if you do know Led Zeppelin, these are not going to be the FAQs that you want to know, because you already know. Last but not least, for part one, Stephen Davis, The Lost Chronicles of Led Zeppelin's 1975 American Tour. I do not recommend this. In fact, if you've read Hammer of the Gods, this is sort of a retread of that, but much more specific to just the 75 tour, because he was I think he was with the band for the West Coast leg of the tour. But Stephen Davis is into the salacious kind of stuff, and I'm not, so I don't recommend that. I'm going to pause this and then start part two. That's the first half of the Zeppelin books, to be continued. Good luck.